It took a while before people realized that the A and the B at the bottom were not unique, and repeated later on, and it took almost 250 years for Otto of Clugny's books to go out of print and people to stop paying attention to them, until a guy by the name of Bach wanted to write a piece of music spelling his name. And this system doesn't have an H. So Bach used C, D, E, F, G, H, I. So you have an H, and he was able to write a piece of music using B, A, C, H, and with those 4 tones, he wrote an entire concertos and symphonies and stuff spelling his name. So even as late as Bach in the 17th century, he still knew about the I and the H, and he used it to write music spelling his name, but today, people can't find the spelling because we're using the system now. Each of these black keys has 2 names. So this black key here could be called C sharp, or it can be called D flat. That's why there's a little sharp and flat in there. This can be D sharp. If we're going this way, we call them sharps. If we're going this way, we call them flats. So it can be D sharp, E flat. E sharp is also called F. We can have an F and have an F flat, which would also be called E. And we call that an enharmonic spelling, because the sharps and flats are theoretical, and they don't have to have any real stuff there to exist. They're just theory. So I can have an E sharp, which some people would call F, and I can have in a piece of music an F flat, or I can have a C flat, or I can have a B sharp. And in some music, if you're spelling correctly, you got to use the B sharp. You can't say C. And in some music, you got to say F flat and spell it F flat. You can't say F. Okay? So those enharmonic spellings are theoretical, and they're very, very, very important. Okay? So that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 white key names, and 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 black key names. 10 plus 7 is 17. So there are 17 spellings. Now here's the problem. B flat is pretty easy to spell, but A sharp, oh, God help us. And to spell an A sharp scale is difficult because there will be double sharps. There will be places where we have to say, you know, like C double sharp. And people don't like that, so they don't memorize that. So they only learn the B flat scale. But folks, there's an A sharp scale, and you'll see it on that piece of paper. Over here, E flat. E flat is very easy for people to memorize, E flat. D sharp is harder to memorize. So people learn that key as E flat, but they never learn it as D sharp. And I got news for you. Bach wrote music in D sharp, and that music is not played to this day because most people are too darn lazy to learn how to spell the D sharp scale. And they don't play the music. And that music is just as good as anybody else, as anything else he wrote, because Bach wrote in all 12 keys at both major and minor. And so he wrote one thing for every key. Bach has used all 17 of these keys. Now, there's a thing called theory. I can take this spelling to the point where it becomes abstract and theoretical, and I can come up with names for spellings that don't exist in this normal chart that are theoretically correct. They're what we call virtual spellings. For instance, I can have A double sharp. Instead of calling it the B scale, I could call it the A double sharp scale, starting there, where B is, and then spell everything with that offset. Here's the problem with A double sharp, which, by the way, is one of my favorite keys, because people who do A, B, C, D, F, G, and tell me that my number system is, wrong and I should be doing it. What I do is I write a piece of music in A double sharp, put it in front of them and say, here, play it. And they look at it and they fall off the piano. Because A double sharp has 17 sharps. All of the letter names are double sharped, so there's 14 sharps, plus 3 more sharps. 15, 16, that's 17 sharps. So the key of A double sharp has 17 sharps. And when people see that many sharps in the key signature, they look at me and say, this is not possible. Folks, it's theoretically possible, and everything that I've written in A double sharp is spelled correctly, and I defy you ABCers out there to keep up with me.
But it's the simplest key of C.
So you can, well, see the key of C, but I could also, when I get to like 6 flats, 7 flats, those things are C again, but I wouldn't call them C, I would call it B sharp. Or I could have D double flat, which starts on C.
Oh, God, I can keep the,
If I had a D double flat, it starts on C, and I could write something in D double flat, but now you're talking about, 11 flats. Okay? So I can have 7 flats, I can have 7 sharps, I can double sharp everything, I can double flat everything, and then I can go and throw in, 5 or 6 more. That is theoretically possible. And so people do not learn A double sharp because there are 3 notes in there that are triple sharp, and all the other notes are double sharp, and then it's just too hard for their head. Okay? So that's why I use numbers. Now this number slider thing fits in here and helps you. If you put the number 1 on C, you'll notice the number 2 is on D, the number 3 is on E, the number 4 is on F, the number 5 is on G,
Number 1
the
on
number
C.
6 is on A, the number
use
7
that
is on B,
use the blue
the number 1 returns us to A.
Yeah.
So that little number pad there, that little slider, that little slide rule is showing you how to spell the key of C. If I wanted to spell a different key, for instance, if I wanted to move the number 1 over there to the D, you would see that what happens is now D is 1, E is 2, but now F is not 3. What happens is you'll see the black key above it. See the black key above it? F sharp happens to be the number 3. So what we're going to do is, next time we get together, bring these, and we're going to sit down and start, and I'm going to show you how to use this intervalometer slide rule to create any of the 17 spellings that I gave you on that piece of paper, and theoretical ones that aren't on that paper that we can just make up off the top of our head and have fun poking fun at people who do ABCs. Okay? That's it for tonight. Thanks.
Thanks, Matt.